The sun was setting behind the rugged mountains, painting the sky in hues of orange and red, as a soft chill began to creep into the air. In a small valley, all alone stood Mary, a widow with a deep sense of determination etched on her face. The Wild West was a place filled with vast landscapes and harsh realities, and for Mary, it meant facing an unforgiving winter without any support. Not long ago, Mary lived in a modest cabin on the outskirts of town. After losing her husband to illness the previous spring, things had become increasingly difficult. The townsfolk, burdened by their own struggles, turned away from her need for help. Feeling abandoned and helpless, she had been forced out of her home when the landlord demanded payment she simply could not afford. With only a small sack of belongings and an unwavering spirit, Mary faced the coming winter alone. She knew that if she did not find shelter soon, the cold could prove fatal. As she wandered through fields dotted with golden straw left over from the harvest, an idea sparked in her mind like a flame igniting dry grass. "I can build something strong enough to protect me," she whispered to herself. Despite being surrounded by steep mountains and wild terrain, Mary felt something lift within her at that moment. It was hope. Gathering her energy, she decided to turn those golden strands into something remarkable. With each handful of straw she collected, memories flooded back of laughter shared with her husband while they built their life together. As day turned to night, Mary's resolve grew stronger. She envisioned a fortress, a structure that would shield her from the freezing winds and snow that were sure to come. It wouldn't be made of lumber or bricks like those found in town. This would be different and uniquely hers. With excitement bubbling in her chest, she gathered more straw than she ever thought possible. "I will show them I can do this," she murmured confidently. Mary might have been alone, but even in solitude, she discovered strength within herself that would last beyond just one winter's night. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the fields, Mary stood resolute. The cold wind whispered around her, but it only fueled her determination. She knew that time was running out, winter was fast approaching, and she had to act quickly if she wanted to survive. With each step she took toward the nearby fields, a fire ignited within her. This was not just about building a fortress, it was about reclaiming her life. Mary had heard stories of others who faced hardships, battling against nature and their own fears. Inspired by their courage, she resolved to be just as brave. "I can do this," she said aloud, as though reminding herself of her strength. She imagined how wonderful it would feel to have a place of her own again, a place where she could feel safe and warm. The fields were vast and golden, dotted with straw that swayed gently in the breeze. Mary knelt down and began to gather armfuls of straw. Its sweet earthy smell filled her nostrils as she pulled it from the ground. Each handful felt like a promise of hope and safety, and she couldn't help but smile as memories of happier times with her husband danced in her mind. The task was physically demanding, yet Mary pushed through fatigue. She filled her sack with straw repeatedly, determined to collect enough for her ambitious project. As she worked, her muscles ached, but each moment spent gathering felt empowering. She pictured the fortress rising before her, strong walls made from simple materials, standing tall against the winter's chill. As dawn broke on the following day, Mary returned to the site where she envisioned building her fortress. The straw she'd gathered lay before her like treasure waiting to be transformed into something extraordinary. She began arranging it carefully, knowing that this structure would need to withstand not only the elements but also any doubt cast upon it by those in town. With every bundle of straw she placed, Mary felt a sense of purpose grow stronger within her heart. "I will not let this winter defeat me," she vowed passionately. It was more than just survival, it was about proving to herself that even when faced with despair, hope could thrive amid adversity. With a clear vision in her mind, Mary set to work on constructing her straw fortress. She imagined it rising majestically amidst the vastness of the Wild West, a place where warmth and safety could flourish even in the face of winter's chill. As she began to build, she marveled at how something so simple could transform into a sturdy structure. Starting with a solid foundation, Mary twisted and wove bundles of straw together. She used thick pieces to form the walls, placing them vertically and horizontally to create layers that would hold strong against the wind. Each bundle she tied together felt like weaving a protective blanket around herself. "This will be my castle," she whispered with pride, picturing its strong walls standing tall against the elements. As days passed, her fortress began to take shape. Mary used her creativity to design it in a way that resembled a castle, adding small towers and arched windows made from carefully placed stacks of straw. The structure grew larger and larger, inspiring awe and a sense of accomplishment in her heart. She filled the gaps between the straw with more materials, dried grasses and bits of mud, to help insulate it against the cold air. Mary's imagination knew no bounds as she adorned her fortress with unique touches. She fashioned a whimsical entryway with arches that spiraled up toward the sky, inviting anyone who might see it to admire her creation. Who would have thought straw could be so beautiful, she mused as she stepped back to admire her work. Even though she worked tirelessly under the warm sun by day and sometimes in the chilly air at night, Mary found joy in each moment spent building. She envisioned cozy corners inside where she could curl up with a book or enjoy quiet evenings by a small fire. Her fortress wouldn't just be a shelter, it would embody her spirit, a space where hope thrived. As she added finishing touches, like clusters of straw for decoration atop the towers, she felt a swell of pride that filled her with energy. She was not just creating a refuge, she was forging a legacy of strength and resilience that whispered through each bundle of straw. "I will make it through this winter," Mary declared firmly, knowing that within those walls lay not only protection but also her newfound hope for a brighter future. The Wild West was a land of striking beauty and unforgiving challenges. Vast stretches of open land were interrupted only by rugged mountains and scattered patches of trees. The sky often hung heavy with clouds that could bring fierce storms without warning. For Mary, this landscape was both inspiring and terrifying, especially as winter's chill descended upon her. As temperatures dropped, the sun set earlier each day, casting long shadows over the ground and signaling the season's harsh arrival. The winds howled through the valleys like restless spirits, making Mary acutely aware of her solitude. She could feel the cold creeping in, its icy fingers reaching for her very bones. At night, the temperature plummeted, turning the world outside into a frozen wasteland. Snowstorms could blanketing everything in sight, leaving travelers lost and vulnerable. In a time where resources were scarce, preparation for winter was critical. Many families stocked their homes with firewood and provisions, but Mary's situation was different. Forced out of her cabin and left with no safety net, she had to rely solely on her own ingenuity. Every moment spent gathering straw and building her fortress felt urgent. It was not just about shelter but about survival itself. The townsfolk often spoke of winter as a time when life could become unbearable. It was a season when many succumbed to illness or hunger if they were unprepared. Mary had witnessed this firsthand when her late husband fell ill, and she couldn't afford medicine or food to help him. That memory weighed heavily on her heart as she labored in the fields, knowing that each strand of straw was a step closer to security. Mary worked tirelessly under the fading light of day, driven by thoughts of what awaited her if she failed. The visions of snow piling around her unfinished stronghold haunted her as she imagined those cold nights without warmth. "I must finish," she said softly to herself, pulling together every ounce of strength she had left. As she built her fortress, Mary found herself thinking not only about her immediate needs but also about the future. She dreamed of finally being free from fear, the fear of freezing at night or being caught unprepared in a storm. Each bundle of straw she placed brought her one step closer to freedom from adversity, transforming her vision into reality amid the Wild West's relentless winter challenges. Days turned into weeks, and at last, the site of Mary's fortress emerged distinctly against the backdrop of the Wild West. Its lofty walls and whimsical towers caught the eye of passers-by, drawing curious glances from the townsfolk. Some shook their heads in disbelief, unable to comprehend how a woman alone could accomplish such a task with only straw. News of her ambitious project spread quickly through the town, sparking a mix of wonder and skepticism among its residents. One afternoon, a small group of townsfolk gathered a short distance away to observe Mary as she added the finishing touches to her creation. They stood whispering among themselves, uncertain whether to admire her craftiness or ridicule it. "What on earth has she built?" one man chuckled, crossing his arms over his chest. "Looks more like a scarecrow's dream than a castle." A woman nearby chuckled along but couldn't conceal her intrigue. but just look at it." "It's impressive in its own way," she replied. "I've never seen anyone build something like that from straw before." The woman's tone carried a tone of respect for Mary's unique determination, contrasting with the laughter around her. Mary, aware of the gathering crowd, felt a surge of mixed emotions, pride at her achievement but also embarrassment from their curious stares. Yet, she had focused so hard on her work that she hardly let their opinions dwindle her spirit. "It may be a bit different," she called out, smiling warmly, "but this will keep me safe during winter. I believe it can be beautiful in its own right." As she spoke, some townsfolk exchanged looks of disbelief while others began nodding appreciatively. They watched as Mary continued working diligently, weaving the final bundles into place and arranging decorations atop her structure. Slowly but surely, curiosity transformed into admiration. People began to understand what her fortress represented, a symbol of resilience and hope in trying times. Children scampered closer, drawn by a sense of adventure as they pointed at towers adorned with clusters of straw. "It looks like a fairy tale castle," one exclaimed with delight. Their innocence brought laughter among the adults and softened their initial judgments. By the end of that week, Mary noticed something remarkable. Wherever she went in town, whispers about her unusual creation now carried tones not just of disbelief but also respect for her creativity and courage. The fortuitous presence she had built seemed to ignite conversations about strength within vulnerability, the power found in creating even when facing life's greatest challenges alone. As the days passed, Mary's fortress began to capture the imagination of the townsfolk more than she could have ever anticipated. What once drew skeptical chuckles now sparked intrigue. People from all around started to visit, drawn by whispers of the remarkable structure rising like a beacon in the fields. Children led their parents, eager to see the castle they had heard about, while others strolled over with cautious curiosity. One sunny afternoon, a small crowd gathered near the fortress, their voices filled with excitement. "Look at how tall it is," a young boy exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder as he pointed at the whimsical towers adorned with clusters of straw. His enthusiasm was infectious, and soon laughter and chatter filled the air. Mary noticed the growing number of visitors and felt an unfamiliar warmth in her heart. She welcomed them with open arms, eager to share her story. "Thank you for coming. I built this to keep warm during winter," she explained, pride shining in her eyes as she gestured toward her creation. "It may be made of straw, but it's my fortress." Some adults shared stories of their own struggles with winter preparations, finding common ground with Mary. They began to appreciate not just the unique structure but also the strength behind its creation. One elderly woman said thoughtfully, "You've shown us that even in tough times, we can find ways to thrive." As more people visited, they began bringing small gifts, baskets of vegetables or blankets, to help Mary prepare for the colder months ahead. The initial skepticism faded into a sense of community. Her fortress became a gathering place where stories were exchanged and bonds were formed. Mary often found herself smiling as she listened to laughter echoing against the straw walls. "I never imagined this would bring so many together," she mused one evening as she watched families enjoying themselves around her fortress. Before long, word spread beyond their town, attracting curious travelers who wanted to see this incredible straw creation for themselves. Some even traveled from neighboring towns, eager to witness what had become a symbol of hope and resilience in their otherwise challenging lives. In time, Mary's fortress transformed from an unusual project into a source of inspiration for everyone who visited. It stood proudly against the backdrop of the Wild West, a testament not only to one woman's determination but also to how creativity and community could flourish amidst adversity. As the weeks rolled on, Mary's straw fortress began to take on a life of its own within the community. What started as a personal project to combat the cold transformed into a powerful symbol of resilience for everyone around her. With each passing day, more townsfolk gathered not just to marvel at the unusual structure but also to draw inspiration from it. One chilly afternoon, Mary held an open house at her fortress, inviting everyone in the town to come and see what she had built. As families arrived, they stepped inside and were greeted by the warm glow of lanterns and the inviting smell of herbs hanging from the walls. Laughter filled the air as children played hide-and-seek among the straw towers. Parents exchanged smiles, recalling how they had once doubted Mary's ambitions. "Look at how she made this all work," one neighbor remarked with admiration as she admired how Mary had created cozy corners using simple materials. "If she can do this on her own, maybe we can overcome our challenges too." That sentiment echoed in conversations around town as people began to see Mary not just as a widow but as a beacon of strength. The fortress became a hub for sharing stories and hardships. Residents started coming together to discuss their struggles during winter, whether it was managing food supplies or dealing with illnesses that seemed to linger longer during the colder months. Inspired by Mary's example, they began helping one another more actively, lending hands or sharing resources. One evening, inspired by their newfound sense of community, Mary organized a gathering where townsfolk could share their dreams and aspirations aloud. "Let's not just survive this winter, let's thrive together," she announced passionately, her voice echoing off the straw walls that had witnessed so many conversations. As word spread beyond their town about Mary's fortress and its role in bringing people together, neighboring communities took notice too. More visitors arrived, eager to see how one woman's determination could spark unity in such challenging times. They left inspired by Mary's story and ready to foster resilience in their own homes. In time, the straw fortress became known not just as Mary's home but as a sanctuary where hope blossomed amid adversity. It stood proudly against the harsh landscape, a reminder that even when life throws challenges our way, there is strength in community and creativity can flourish even in unlikely forms. The fortress wasn't simply shelter, it became an emblem of what could be achieved when individuals come together against life's storms. As winter finally made its grand entrance, a fierce chill swept across the Wild West, transforming the landscape into a frosty wonderland. Snow began to fall, blanketing the earth in a soft, white layer that sparkled under the faint winter sun. The once vibrant fields where Mary had gathered her straw were now quiet and still, covered in a thick layer of snow. The air turned biting cold, and the winds howled through the valleys, sending shivers through anyone brave enough to step outside. Inside her fortress, however, Mary felt a warm glow of comfort and safety. She had worked tirelessly to prepare for this exact moment, and as she settled into her cozy space surrounded by the sturdy walls of straw, she was filled with gratitude for her creation. Despite the howling winds outside, her fortress stood strong against the elements. She had insulated it well with layers of straw and dried grasses, which helped trap warmth inside. Each evening, as snow drifted down outside, Mary sat by a small fire she had built within her fortress, its warmth radiating around her like a gentle embrace. The soft crackle of flames was soothing as she brewed herbal tea in a simple pot. She peeked out through one of her makeshift windows and watched snowflakes dance in the air before landing softly on the ground. "I am safe here," she murmured to herself with a smile. The snowfall created a serene atmosphere around her fortress. Every now and then, she would hear laughter from children playing outside, reminders that life continued beyond her walls, and it warmed her heart to know that her fortress had become a safe haven not just for herself but also for others seeking refuge from the cold. On particularly harsh nights when the winds howled louder than usual, Mary would wrap herself in blankets made from donated fabric and sit near the fire with stories swirling in her mind. She thought about how far she had come, from being cast out and alone to finding strength within herself and creating something beautiful that brought people together. As winter's grip tightened on the land outside, Mary's straw fortress became more than just shelter. It was now a sanctuary filled with warmth and hope, a testament to resilience and creativity flourishing amid adversity. Each day that passed reinforced her belief that even in difficult times, there is light to be found within ourselves and those we choose to connect with. Winter might be unforgiving outside, but inside, Mary was determined to thrive in her fortress of straw. As winter settled into the Wild West with its icy grip, the townsfolk began to realize that Mary's straw fortress was more than just a unique structure, it had become a vital part of their community. On chilly days, groups of people would venture out, bringing supplies to share with her, eager to help and connect. They gathered around the warmth of her fire, creating an atmosphere filled with camaraderie and laughter. One afternoon, a group of neighbors arrived at Mary's fortress carrying bundles full of firewood and fresh vegetables. They pushed open the door and were greeted by the comforting glow of flickering lanterns inside. "We thought you might need some more supplies," said one woman with a friendly smile. "Winter is only going to get harsher." Mary beamed with gratitude as they unloaded their offerings. "Thank you. This means so much to me," she replied, her heart swelling with warmth as she took in their kindness. "Come in, let me make us all something warm to drink." As they settled in around the fire, sharing stories beneath the straw-adorned ceiling, laughter echoed through the walls. People spoke about their hardships and victories, transforming what could have been lonely days into moments filled with connection. One man shared tales of his childhood during harsh winters, reminiscing about how his family had always banded together for support. "Every year felt like an adventure," he said nostalgically, his eyes twinkling as he remembered simpler times. The others listened intently, nodding along as they found comfort in shared experiences. With each visit from the townsfolk, Mary's fortress became a place where bonds deepened. Children played on the straw floor while adults exchanged recipes and tips for weathering winter's trials. Evenings turned into spirited gatherings where neighbors would sing old songs or play simple games to lift their spirits. Mary realized that her fortress not only provided her shelter but also served as a hub where community spirit thrived amid adversity. She often found herself reflecting on how this collective support strengthened them all. What began as her personal project transformed into a sanctuary for many. On particularly cold nights when snow howled outside, instead of feeling isolated within her walls, Mary felt enveloped by warmth, the warmth created by friendships forged through shared struggles and triumphs. With every gathering, she understood that they were not just helping each other survive winter, they were building lasting connections that would endure long after the snow melted away. In this way, Mary's straw fortress became not only a shelter from frigid winds but also a vibrant heart for the community, a space where hope ignited in every story shared around the fire. As winter wore on, Mary often reflected on how her journey had changed not only her life but the lives of those around her. What began as a desperate attempt to survive had blossomed into a vibrant community rich with friendship and mutual support. Her straw fortress stood tall and proud, not merely as a shelter from the elements but as a testament to the strength found in unity. Every evening, as the soft glow of candlelight flickered inside, she would look around at the faces gathered with her, neighbors sharing laughter, children playing, and stories being exchanged. The warmth of their connections reminded her that hardships could be transformed into opportunities for growth and companionship. "I never thought I would find such joy in building this place," she mused one night, glancing at each smiling face. "You have all turned my fortress into a home." Mary had learned that resilience was not just about enduring alone, it was about lifting each other up. She realized that her ingenuity in creating a safe space had sparked something much greater than she anticipated. It encouraged others to step outside their own struggles and reach out for help or simply share a moment of joy. The once skeptical townsfolk now embraced her as one of their own, each visit to the fortress helping to weave stronger threads within their community fabric. As snow continued to blanket the Wild West, Mary's heart swelled with gratitude for the friendships she had cultivated. They came together not only to weather the storm but also to celebrate small victories, like learning new recipes or sharing old songs that warmed their spirits. "We will thrive together," became a common refrain, echoing through the walls of her fortress during gatherings filled with laughter. Looking ahead, Mary saw that spring would eventually come, bringing with it new life and opportunities. But while winter still held its grip, she understood that the spirit of connection forged within those straw walls would endure long after the last snow melted away. The friendships made and lessons learned would remain embedded in their hearts. In her fortress, Mary discovered that facing adversity could lead to unexpected blessings, a lesson that resonated deeply within each person who passed through her door. Together, they had transformed a challenging season into one filled with hope, creativity, and unity. The widow's journey illustrated how ingenuity could not only provide shelter but also forge bonds that withstand even the harshest winters, a beautiful reminder that community can bloom in the most unlikely places.